sometimes some villains just need to stay behind the bars. Yes, hello there people, and welcome to the top 5 worst Villains Month titles, and of course above this whole big kind of like event-ish kind of thing from DC Villains Month. Now, I was originally going to do a top 10 video on this, you know, the same with my top 10 best Villains Month titles, but it was really hard because some of these titles were not really that good, but they weren't really that bad. You know, they were kind of like ish kind of like stories. So I put it down to just a top 5 video, and these are the 5 titles that I felt were either disappointing, wasn't really anything to do with Villains Month, and of course my opinion. Also, I will have my kind of like wee iPad here to sort of to kind of like give me a wee kind of like notes on some of the titles that I put on the list. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, our number 5 is Teen Titans 23.2 issue Deathstroke. Now, this title wasn't really that, you know, necessarily bad. It was like alright, but the reason why I put it in my number 5 slot of the worst titles because this just felt like any other Deathstroke story. I'll be fair, I stopped buying Deathstroke quite a while back before it was the last couple of issues before it suddenly ended. And if you were someone that hadn't picked up this title, you just felt that you were just reading another Deathstroke story. That's what I felt. This wasn't really anything to do with Villains Month, nothing to do with it at all. It was a kind of somewhat-ish kind of story. Really did not kind of like it, and I was really, really disappointed. Now, our number 4 slot. A lot of people were disappointed with this one, me especially, and that's Batman 23.1 issue The Joker. How can you mess up The Joker? Well, this was kind of like DC's fault because we were expecting kind of like a story back in the days of the Joker, but instead what we got was him and this gorilla. Yeah, and one thing I will say is they tried to sort of hint on they tried to sort of put a wee bit of thing on what the Joker's past was like when he was a child, but as you know, the Joker is a bit messed up, so he might not be thinking straight, and he's kind of just been like illusions of his past. But this title was not good, really did not like it, kind of left outfield, and just proves that the Joker needs Batman in his titles than Batman needs the Joker. Well, kind of. Number 3 is Superman 23.4 Parasite. Now, this is a completely new villain to me. I don't know much about this villain, but this issue was... yeah. I gotta be fair, I loved the origin story of Parasite in Superman Earth 1 Volume 2 than this one. This one just felt stupid, you know, out there, and just kind of like, what the hell? I mean, it doesn't even make sense to me as well. This just felt like a completely rushed out story, and ultimately I just did not like it. Our number 2 is Justice League Dark issue 23.1 Creeper. Now, I have no idea who this villain was, and by the end of reading this issue I still have no idea who this villain is. This to me just felt, this villain was never mentioned in Justice League Dark at all. It was not even kind of remotely even part of the main comic books series since the start of the reboot, like ever. So where the hell does this character come from, like in terms of Justice League sort of Dark per se? And who is this guy anyway? This was one of the worst titles, well, nearly one of the worst, and wasn't until we got to our number 1. So our number 1 title of the worst of the bunch, you know, the bad egg of the whole Villains Month, was Justice League 23.3 issue Dial E. Now, I understand this was a Dial H probably villain, maybe. I never really read it. But what I'm really going to say is this was a, excuse my French, fucked up issue, because there was a lot of artists on this one comic, like every page was done by every single art style, and you may be thinking, oh, that's good, but it's not consistent, it's very bad, it's even the story was completely left out of field. For anyone who didn't really understand, didn't get into the comic series that it started off with, might have been feeling like, eh. And I can't say about the ones that did read it and were fans of it, whether this was a good issue for them. But for the fact of the multiple artists and the story was just completely freaking bonkers, it was just like, I didn't even know what was happening. I mean, obviously there was this style thing, but this thing kind of changed hands quite a lot. There was this group that wanted it as well, they appeared out of nowhere, and all of us, I just didn't know what the hell happened. And I was waiting for this woman to appear that was on the front cover, and she never appeared bloody once in the whole bloody issue. So with that, it gets my top notch of the worst title of Villains Month by far. Whew, well, that is now that done. Like I said in my best, I have the link sort of here, or a little picture of the best top 10 Villains Month titles that I think, in my opinion. So click on that either in this photo here or in the annotation down in the description. But what was your worst Villains Month title? I would like to know. Also, do you think this was a worthy kind of like event for DC with Villains Month? Like I said in all what I said in the best, so I'm not going to repeat it all, but what I will say is I'll see you either real soon or later.